Mack Brown fired, fair or not?
You are Locked On College Football, smothered and covered, with your host, Barrett Sallee. Your one-stop shop for everything college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, welcome into the Tuesday edition, a big show. There is breaking news in the coaching world. We will get to that. It is also fan Q&A day. And of course, it is Tuesday, so it's time to tell the truth. Tell the Truth Tuesday coming up here on the show. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's right. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege, and you will get $20 off your first purchase. Thank you for watching. Thank you for making this your first listen every single day. You can follow me on all the social media accounts, all those things that all the kids do, including my 13-year-old who's sitting right over there playing NCAA. If you hear that in the background, that's why he's building Wake Forest He's building Wake Forest into a superpower. And who was a superpower was Mack Brown, national championship coach at Texas. Second stint at North Carolina. Yesterday, he says he's not going to retire. Well, you know what? North Carolina is going to retire him instead of him retiring himself. He's been fired today by the Tar Heels. Bubba Cunningham released a statement earlier today. Mack Brown did as well. And here is Mack Brown's statement from the school. He says, while this was not the perfect time and way in which I managed to go out, no time will ever be the perfect time. I spent 16 seasons at North Carolina between two stints and will always cherish the moments and relationships Sallee and I have built while serving as the head coach. We've had the chance to coach some great young men and we'll miss having the opportunity to do that moving forward. Moving forward, my total focus is on these players and getting ready for NC State and blah, 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 blah. So he is going to coach this weekend, and he should, because he is a legend in this business. I think I know Mack Brown. I text him a little bit. He is as genuine as it gets. You know, he's been a good coach, obviously, led Texas to a national championship, led Texas to a long sustained success there in the mid to late 2000s. He's a better person. He will text when, like, I obviously have epilepsy. When I put that on X, he texts me about it and just checks on me and says, how are you doing? And sure, I text him and call him for stuff that's related to this world professionally. A lot of people do. And he answers them back. But personally, he knows you. He understands you. He makes you feel important. And all of us are important. But he makes sure that a guy who's as successful as he is in this world is as genuine as it gets. So I hope this is forced retirement, obviously. I hope he finds a great way to live his life, him and his wife, Sallee. You know, he loves her. He talks about her all the time. So, you know, is it fair for him to be fired now? Look, the last week has been very odd for him. You know, he was asked at a press conference, I think it was after the last game, are you retiring? He said no. He was asked yesterday during media availability. He says no. This could have been handled better. I think athletic director Bubba Cunningham could have pulled him aside and said, look, man, you either retire or you don't. But if not, we're going to have to fire you. We really do not want it to go down this way. And it did. And that sucks. I feel bad for it. He's going to be kind of the butt of a lot of jokes. But let's look at North Carolina itself. It's a really attractive job. There are talented high school recruits. There are more of them, including this year's #1 overall recruit, David Sanders, who is likely going to Tennessee. And obviously this is going to be difficult for North Carolina to get back in this race now. But 4 top 100 recruits last year. The population base is getting bigger. The football programs are getting stronger. A lot of good high school coaches going into the state of North Carolina. And North Carolina has some great resources. North Carolina is one of those teams in the ACC where you kind of want to shake them and be like, why aren't you better? Why can't you be Clemson? Why can't you be Florida State? They can. They've got the facilities. They're pouring the money into it. They've got fan support, obviously, with what they do, both on the basketball side and throughout the rest of the athletic department. All they've got to do is get some momentum and sustain that momentum just for a year or two. Mack Brown didn't, and I think that was ultimately the biggest problem. Year by year basis. Sorry, the video cut out. If you heard me stutter, that was why. But it's an attractive job. So who goes and gets it, right? I've heard a lot of people say Jamey Chadwell, and sure, okay, I'm on board with Jamey Chadwell. I saw him good coach. He understands how to connect with young men. He's been successful, obviously, with what he did at Coastal Carolina, and then moving forward at Liberty. It hasn't been great this year, but obviously last year did a great job. So I'm on board with that. Innovative offensive mind. That's what North Carolina can use. He can sell that to people in the region. He's been in the region for so long that getting to know high school coaches, high school recruits, agents around that area, it's not going to be that different for him. So Jamey Chadwell, I think, would be great. His fingerprints are on offenses all over that area, the North Carolina, the Outer Banks, South Carolina, Southern Virginia. There are a lot of coaches who have worked with him that are on the upswing, on the up and up. So he should be the first call for Bubba Cunningham. He should be the second call, maybe the third, fourth, and fifth. Make him say no. He's making a lot of money at Liberty. Speaking of great programs with a lot of money, Liberty has poured a lot of money into that program, as we saw with Hugh Freeze and now with Chadwell. So it's going to take a lot. It really is. But Chadwell will go, and I think that should be the first call. If you're going to make a second, if you have to make a second, let me tell you, he got this guy right here that I'm going to mention him in a second. He got kind of caught up in a meme situation this year, and that is Alex Golesh at South Florida. You know, he got into that fight with Tom Herman. Everyone sort of laughed, and video issues throughout the course of this show. But getting into that little skirmish with Tom Herman, why? Why did that happen? It's because South Florida is a power, or at least becoming a power in that conference. And people are scared of South Florida. Tampa's a great place to recruit. It's a great place to have transfers come check out. There's a lot going for that program. And finally, somebody has harnessed that, and that is Alex Golesh. And he can relate to players, young guy, energetic. So North Carolina absolutely should go ring his doorbell and see what's going on. John Sumrall's another guy who I think people should pay attention to. Did a great job at Troy. Now he's at Tulane. We've seen Tulane bounce in and out of the top 25, and obviously they're going to play for an AAC championship game. So those are the three that I sort of look at and say, okay, let's start there. And if you have to move on, but I don't think you will, because again, I think a lot of people understand how attractive that job is. Now, I've seen Rhett Lashlee's name call up, and if you've watched this show, if you've listened to the show, you know how much respect I have for Rhett Lashlee. He is, full disclosure, a personal is this school is a gold mine. The amount of money they pour into that school is unbelievable. The trust they have in him, his ability to sell that program to not only high school players but transfers is remarkable. And man, they are desperate for a winner. The NIL program they have at SMU is second to none. And look at what happened right now. First year in the ACC, SMU is going to the ACC championship game, could make the college football playoff. Why would you leave somewhere like that? Yeah, you might have a little bit more in terms of street cred at North Carolina. You can change that. at SMU. In fact, I think, already has changed that quite a bit at SMU. So let's push back on the North Carolina stuff. I just don't think Rhett would be interested in it. And yeah, some of that is based on, personal knowledge, how he operates. So yeah, Rhett, I love it, but I love him, but not happening. So my first call, second call, third call, Jamey Chadwell, Alex Golesh at South Florida is next. And then after that, John Summerall, he's done a really good job, up and comer, can sell that program, energetic. So that would be my third call. We'll take a break. It is Tell the Truth Tuesday. We will tell the truth about Georgia and Georgia Tech. It's college football smothered and covered, powered by Locked On. Okay, this show brought to you by our good friends at Roy. Fans, listen up. You need to download the Roy app. You've heard about us talk about this all season long. It is an app that lets you, the fan, be part of your favorite school's name, image, and likeness program. Here's what I absolutely love about it. It does a great job. You get your money back if your player transfers. So you can put money into their account, and if it doesn't work, you get it back. Roy is helping us keep our team intact, and it's actually good for the game long term. My Roy player of the week, full disclosure, went to Auburn. Auburn stuff all around me. Kid with an Auburn jersey over there playing college football. Jarquez Hunter did a great job for Auburn. Scored, what was it, the first touchdown in overtime, over the century mark yet again. He was a big reason why Auburn pulled off that 4 overtime upset over Texas A&M. You can show your support by depositing a little appreciation into Jarquez's account. To do that, download the Roy app, and you can see what that logo looks like. If you're just watching on YouTube, or join Roy.com, you can see it right there. And look, I love Jarquez Hunter. He's done a great job for that school. Last home game. Definitely support him. Download the Roy app. Join Roy.com today. Use promo code Locked On. Every athlete from every team is there. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Join Roy.com for full terms. Roy, support the players. Support the game. Speaking of game, we are also sponsored by Game Time. Our good friends at Game Time. You hear us talk about Game Time all the time. And look, Saturday night, Sunday morning, my wife's like, you know what? Just take the kids to the Iron Bowl in Tuscaloosa. I was like, all right, let's see what's. I pull up the app. That's $250. But I know it's $250. It's out of the budget, but $250 all in pricing. Game Time has it. Nowhere else do you see that. So if I were to buy those tickets, that's the full price. I wouldn't get hit with all of these unbelievable fees that come along with all these other ticketing apps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. And it's also time to tell the truth. It is Tell the Truth Tuesday. I am going to Georgia Tech on Friday night. Very excited. Rivalry game. Started the season in Ireland watching Georgia Tech, finishing the regular season in Athens watching Georgia Tech. And I have no connection to that school at all, other than a few friends went there. And they are not nerds. They are very cool people. Georgia could be in some trouble here. I don't care what the line says. Georgia can be in some trouble here. What Georgia Tech does offensively isn't a secret. They just continue to do it very well. And what really is important, what we saw Philo do last Thursday night against NC State, is develop the passing game into more of a downfield threat, but create diversity within that passing game. He found guys like Singleton and even the backs out of the Jamal Haynes out of the backfield. Now, Jamal Haynes got hurt, but I think, look, there are actually weapons around that offense. But I think what's really important is that Haynes King has no business throwing the football, can't throw the football. What was it? I don't even know what he was last week, but everybody knows what's happening when he goes in. He's going to be a runner. But the offensive line is so good that he still gets 3-4 yards. Now, the biggest challenge of that game is obviously that offensive line, that rushing attack going up against this Georgia defensive front. We've seen what Georgia has been able to do up front. It's the big reason. It's the only reason they won the Georgia game the Texas game in Austin about a month ago. But that's the matchup that I can't wait to see. And look, I think it's pretty easy to say, oh, well, Georgia's going to take care of Georgia Tech. Okay, maybe that's right. Probably is right. But I wouldn't set it in stone because Brent Key does a great job motivating his team. Brent Key does a great job executing his game plan at the highest level. And so I would not expect Georgia Tech to get blown out of this game. Now, think of what that would do to the college football playoff. Georgia would be out. I don't care what they would do in the SEC championship game. Three losses is out. And so this kind of changes my mind a little bit. I always said a loser of the SEC championship game, if this is Georgia and a 3-loss team, that you can't get knocked out for playing your way into a conference championship game. But if you're a 3-loss team and you become a 4-loss team, that might change just a little bit. So, but this is not a gimme, folks. I've seen a lot of chaos scenarios come out, and this is one of them. And I always kind of look around, okay, Purdue beating Indiana, no, I don't. Purdue's terrible. Maryland beating Penn State, I doubt it. Georgia Tech beating Georgia, maybe. And it's not because I'm going to that game and covering that game and have friends that went to Georgia Tech. I have friends that went to Georgia too. It's that Georgia Tech's actually a pretty good football team. And I'm interested to see what Brent Key has for the Bulldogs. Tell the Truth Tuesday, Notre Dame is actually in the college football playoff right now. I've been asked this a lot. What happens if they lose to USC? I still think they'll be okay. Look, I think the Northern Illinois loss, again, full disclosure, we have never done this before, all right? We have never had a 12-team playoff with divisionless football in the Power 4 conferences and stacked conferences with a bunch of new teams that all seem to be vying for a couple spots in the championship game and a chance to make the playoff. West Virginia can still win the Big 12 and make the college football playoff. And if they don't, they're probably going to Shreveport. That's how crazy this year is. So for Notre Dame, getting in the clubhouse with a 11-1 record, they're in regardless. Get a home game. 10-2 record with the loss to USC, they're still in because aside from the 2 losses, they've been wrecking shop. I call them the best, most boring football team in the country because they are boring and they still get the job done. But all these chaos scenarios around them that have happened already have opened the door, especially in the SEC, for Notre Dame to slide in. Wouldn't get a home game, but I do think they will be in regardless. Oh, not regardless, unless they get smoked by USC. If they get smoked by USC, that's a completely different story. But Notre Dame, Tell the Truth Tuesday, they will be in the college football playoff. We'll be back. Questions and answers from the fans. Coming up on the other side, it's College Football Smothered and Covered, powered by Locked On. Today's show brought to you by Mint Mobile. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. To get started, go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. There you'll see that right now, a 3-month plan is only $15 a month. That includes the unlimited plan. To get this new customer offer, you need to go to and to get the 3-month mobile wireless plan for just $15 a month. Go to mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege, mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month with Mint Mobile at mintmobile.com/lockedoncollege. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speeds slower and above 40 gigabytes on the unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com for further details. All right, Locked On College Football Smothered and Covered, presented by Locked On. We always do fans. We love our fans, right? So I asked for fan questions today on the Twitter/X machine. First things first, Steve Moulton, good radio host up in northern Alabama in Huntsville. What exactly have we watched this year in the SEC? Well, we've watched parity. It's the biggest thing. The only teams that have been hurt by the transfer portal are the best of the best. Because all of those players that used to stick around for 3 years to get playing time, look around and say, I don't like this. I'm going to go start at Mississippi State or start at Texas State. Texas A&M players are going to North Texas. USC players are going to Utah State. Doesn't matter. But those players are good enough to start somewhere. They know they're going to get the exposure. They can get paid and work their way towards the NFL draft. That's the biggest thing. In the SEC this year, the cannibalization has occurred just because the best teams, the Georgias, the Alabamas, lost players to teams that are still pretty darn good. And it's the Jimmys and the Joes. It's not the X's and the O's. David Carter, is the South Carolina Clemson game a de facto CFP play-in game? No, it is not. South Carolina could make the college football playoff. It needs about 8 dominoes to fall. All Clemson's got to do is get to the ACC championship game and win it. So all they need is help from Miami losing to Syracuse. That's it. So no, it is not a CFP play-in game. In fact, the winner of that game really still could be on the outside looking in and have no shot on Saturday night, depending on what happens in the world of college football. David Swinford, do you think that Jalen Milroe deliberately played at a lower level in the loss to OU? I have no idea what that question is all about. Look, Alabama fans have basically lost their minds lately. I don't understand. Like, why would he deliberately play down to OU? Is there a storyline that I'm missing? I don't know. What I was asked yesterday on Memphis radio was what the market would be for Jalen Milroe if he decided to transfer from Alabama. And honestly, it's a good question because I don't think it would be as high as it was last offseason at all. I think maybe we're talking, like we talked about North Carolina beforehand, maybe the new coach at North Carolina. That would be, if Jalen Milroe decides to leave, that's the kind of school that he would go to. He wouldn't have a market elsewhere with bigger programs. But why would I don't get why he would deliberately play down. Although if you go back and watch that game, he certainly looked out of it. The whole roster looked out of it. They looked like they had no interest in playing OU. That'll do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered, powered by Locked On. Thank you for making this your first listen. For the second listen, you can listen to Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin. You can also check out all of our conference channels. They do a great job getting you ready for rivalry weekend. Also, if you want to join the subtext group and text me, you can do that. Description below, you can see the address. Use code Locked On College, and you will get to do that. And look, I love texting you guys, especially from site. I get you pictures, videos that you don't see anywhere else, and those go up on the subtext group as well. Thank you for making this your first listen. College football playoff rankings coming out tonight. So, of course, Wednesday morning will be a big one. Until then, have a good one.